What's happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel. First things first, make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And Everton's search for a new manager has finally come to an end after Carlo Ancelotti's surprising departure to Real Madrid. Everton have controversially, in some people's minds, appointed former Liverpool manager Rafa Benitez, who has crossed that Merseyside divide and joined the Blue Half. Joining me today to discuss this is Everton fan Joe Reid. So, Joe, thanks for joining me today, mate. Thanks for coming back on the channel. Let's get stuck right into it. When we spoke last about a month or so ago, we kind of discussed Rafa Benitez, and it was obviously mixed with the fan base. We've seen this week he's been appointed. There are some unsavoury banners pictured near his home, which I'm sure only represents a very small minority of the fan base. But now that it's been a couple of days to digest the news, what's the kind of reaction within the fan base?
You summed it up perfectly in your first sentence, mate. Just controversial. Um, yeah, I think a lot of fans aren't best pleased. The one thing I would say though is that I do think when the season starts, that the majority will really get behind him and back the team. I think obviously at the minute, whilst it's fresh in everyone's thoughts and in the news, yeah, it's not gone down well with um, a lot of the blue side and Merseyside, and obviously you can understand why. The Liverpool links, some of the comments that he's made in the past, just his style of football, the way that he works with the director of football, everything like that. Um, so yeah, I think for that reason it's very controversial. But yeah, like I said, I do expect the fans to get behind him once the season starts, and I think he'll have a short honeymoon period, and it's very important for him to get off to a good start. I think if he wants to have a good relationship with the fans going forward, I think that's crucial. We have, from memory, I think we've got a relatively kind start to the season. So I'd say, yeah, if he doesn't hit the ground running, I'd worry for him.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Those as soon as you're winning games and doing well, people kind of just
Yeah,
forget about all that stuff. But if he was, as you said, if he was to have a poor start, maybe not win any of the first 3-4 games, then he's going to have a big problem because
yeah,
those fans that weren't really keen for him in the first place will come out of the woodwork again, and
yeah.
it could be an
I
issue.
think
But from a sort of from your point of view, do you think it's the right appointment for the club going forward? Obviously, you'd like to think that Benitez will take Everton into the new stadium. Do you think he's the right man to kind of change the fortunes and perhaps do what Ancelotti couldn't do and kind of push into Europe?
possibly, yeah, he could be. He could, if we all take our blue tinted glasses off, he could be the man that we sort of need to come in and stabilize things for a bit. Just give us that pair of steady hands who can guide us to, yeah, close to the European places and even deliver a trophy. It's what we all want a Carlo to do, and he couldn't do it. So yeah, hopefully that's the case. My worry is with it is just that it does just seem like he's sort of set up to fail. You know, you can see the story already, can't you? Of, oh, he should never have gone there, and it was never going to work. And I really hope that that's not the case. You know, like you said, our new stadium should be ready in 3 years' time. And if Rafa's still here then it means that he's obviously done a good job and done something well. And I think all would be forgotten if in those 3 years, you know, you had a couple of European place finishes, and even if you lifted the Carabao Cup or an FA Cup or something, I think that would soon be forgotten. So yeah, um, like he said in his interview, he said he's not someone who likes to talk the talk. He just likes to walk the walk, and I think ultimately that'll be how his reign is judged by Evertonians. If he walks the walk, then everyone will say fair play.
Yeah, no, 100%. And just in terms of the Benitez appointment in general, obviously, uh, Everton operate with a director of football, Marcel Brands. Are you surprised to hear? I'm not sure if this is 100% true, but the report suggesting that Farhad Moshiri, the chairman, has gone not really consulted with Brands and just appointed Benitez off his own back.
No, I think again, a lot of the Everton fans aren't surprised at that. Moshiri's got a track record of doing what he wants. So yeah, we weren't surprised. I think a lot of again, this goes against Rafa, which isn't really his fault, but I think part of the animosity towards him is because people know that it's not Marcel Brands' decision, and a lot of Evertonians want Brands to be in charge of those footballing decisions because more often than not he's got them right since he's been at the club. Um, so yeah, again, that's something that Rafa will have to deal with. He's worked with director of footballs in the past. He's had them at Valencia. He's obviously had strong management, strong hierarchy. Sorry, at Liverpool and Newcastle, Real Madrid. The worrying thing for Evertonians is that he does tend to fall out with these characters. He's a bit of sort of my way or the highway of Rafa. I think what he wants to get. So there's a bit of a worry there that obviously if Marcel Brands has the long term goals of the club in mind all the time, and Rafa's thinking, well, I might only be here for 2 or 3 years. Is that a clash waiting to happen again? You don't know, but yeah, just another little element that makes the appointment interesting, doesn't it?
And how important do you think it is that he's obviously keeping Big Duncan Ferguson, club legend, on board in the coaching staff? Do you think that's vital? I mean, I'm not sure that would have gone down too well with the fans if he'd moved him on.
Yeah, to be honest, I think he had to keep Duncan, because if Everton had announced that we'd appointed Rafa manager and that they were getting rid of Dunk, I think all hell would have really broke loose. So yeah, I mean it's good for Rafa to have someone there who sort of knows the club inside out. It's good for Dunk because he can carry on sort of working towards what we all probably envisage one day, that he will become a manager and hopefully get to the point where he's good enough to manage Everton one day. So yeah, I think it's a win-win for both, really.
And in terms of obviously just going back to getting the fans on side, what do you think Benitez has got to do? Obviously, the quick start is vital to get some wins on the board. What else do you think he needs to do to try and win the fans over? Because obviously his style of football has not always been the most exciting on the eye. Do you think that's going to be a problem for Everton?
First and foremost, I think he's just got to win some games. I think, if out of the first 10 games of the season, I think if you can get 7 or 8 wins, then that would put him off to a really good start. I think Everton has accepted that he is more of a tactician and that sort of attacking free-flowing football isn't what we're going to get. But I think if there's signs that, he could work towards that, then that would also go down well. And the League Cup starts early in the season now, doesn't it? So again, I think he'll have to put up a decent showing in that. If he went out in the first game or two of that, I think that would really go against him. So yeah, I think main thing is get some wins on early, show signs that there is a bit of a plan and that the football could be entertaining if we get it right, and probably a few quite nice additions in the transfer market as well. I think that would do him good if we could have a little bit of excitement even before the season started, just to get him a few more brownie points. So if he could bring in 2 or 3 players where the Evertonians sort of go, hey, he looks like a good player and he'll improve us, I think again that will get Rafa some points from the Evertonians.
Yeah, I'm just going to come on to the transfer market, mate. Do you think that the appointment of Benitez is going to help Everton attract a calibre of player that they otherwise might not be able to? And do you expect him to have a decent amount of backing behind him from Moshiri to improve the squad and push towards those European places?
I'd expect us to still be able to attract a decent calibre of player. Maybe not the likes that we could have got under Carlo, but I think definitely better than what we would have got, let's say, under someone like a Marco Silva and Eddie Howe, someone like that. So I think it's probably in that middle ground somewhere. And yeah, I actually think more than ever now, Moshiri has to back him, because this is the most obvious Moshiri appointment yet, if you get me. Like, because of how controversial it is. Like, even with Carlo, you knew that Moshiri wanted him, but most of the fans were on board with it as well. Whereas with Benitez, Moshiri wanted it, the fans didn't, so he has to back him to sort of prove that actually, yeah, this guy is the guy to take us forward, and I'm going to give him whatever he needs to prove that. So yeah, I'd expect him to have a bit of cash to spend and hopefully bring some decent players in with it.
And do you think this possibly changes James Rodriguez's decision, whether he's going to stay or go? Obviously, quite a lot of reports when Carlo left that James would probably move on. Do you think Benitez has got enough about him to convince him to stick around?
My gut tells me no. No, because I think it was pretty obvious that James only came to Everton because he wanted to work with Carlo again. There were reports that he wasn't particularly happy in England anyway. I believe that they've worked together at Real Madrid briefly as well. I don't think that went great. And plus, Carlo was like a proper man manager, sort of like tickle the belly of all the superstars. Whereas I think Rafa's the opposite, isn't he? He's just tactics. If you don't do what you're told, sort of get out. So I can't see that relationship working. I think the Evertonians would love it too, and they'd love Rafa to be able to get the best out of him. But yeah, my gut tells me that I'd expect him to move on. I don't see it working, which is a
And,
shame because a full Goodison hasn't seen James Rodriguez yet, which is a crime.
and in terms of one other player that we discussed his future in a previous video we did, do you think Benitez might want to have a look at Moise Kean?
Hope so. Yeah. Like I said last time, I think it's a position that Everton need to strengthen in, that sort of striker or backup striker to Calvert-Lewin. It gives him a fresh start, someone to come in and impress again. I think Benitez would be silly not to look at him. You've got a potential striker who's worth 40 odd million sat there. I don't think Everton are in the position to sort of ignore players like that. So yeah, I think could be a fresh start for both of them, and maybe this could be the sort of the start of him at Everton. I think most of the fans would love that. But yeah, again, if it were to go the other way and he were to just move him on, wouldn't be surprised.
And just finally, mate, what do you think the remit is for Benitez this season? Do you think it's as simple as European qualification, or do you think it needs a little bit more than that?
I think success for him would be improving on this season, which could be marred a little bit because we ended up finishing 10th on the last day of the season. We went into it possibly being able to finish 7th, and now we finished 10th. So if we'd have come 7th, you're saying, oh yeah, he's got to look at finishing higher than that. Whereas now you're saying, really on paper, if he came 9th, he'd done better than Carlo, then it is a good season. But yeah, I think most of the Evertonians would want to see a proper push for the European places again. And again, a good cup run in both of them, in the League Cup and the FA Cup. I think that would be crucial.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting season in the blue half of Merseyside. And I'll tell you what, that first Merseyside derby of the season is going to have a bit of added spice with it. But as always, mate, thanks for joining me. And we'll have to see how Everton get on. But yeah, guys, make sure you smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.